The night shift was always quiet at the small gas station on the edge of town. Marcus sat in the dim security room, sipping lukewarm coffee while the low hum of the monitors filled the silence. Nothing ever happened here, just cars fueling up, headlights cutting through the dark, and the occasional raccoon darting across the lot. But that calm was about to shatter. At exactly 1:47 a.m., movement flickered across camera 3, a figure entering the frame on foot. Marcus frowned. It wasn't unusual to see pedestrians pass by, but something about this woman was different. She walked straight up to one of the pumps, even though she didn't have a car. Then she stopped, standing eerily still under the harsh fluorescent lights. Marcus leaned closer to the screen. The woman's posture was strange, cautious. She kept glancing over her shoulder as if afraid of being seen. Her clothes were worn and her hair hung loose, almost hiding her face. Then Marcus noticed the small jerry can in her hand. "What are you up to?" he muttered. The woman waited until a car finished fueling and drove off. Then, without hesitation, she rushed to the same pump, grabbed the nozzle, and tilted it into her jerry can. Marcus blinked, stunned. She's stealing fuel. It wasn't the first time he'd seen someone act shady, but this was bold and deliberate. He grabbed his flashlight and stormed out of the booth, his boots crunching against the gravel. But by the time he reached the pumps, she was gone. The jerry can, the figure, the strange stillness all vanished into the night. Frustrated, Marcus returned to his monitors. He rewound the footage, eyes darting from one screen to another. She had appeared and disappeared like a ghost. But the next night, she came back. Marcus saw her again, same time, same routine. She waited, watched, and stole the leftover fuel. And again, she slipped away just seconds before he reached the door. By the third night, Marcus's patience snapped. "Not this time," he growled, tightening his belt. He carried a portable monitor, synced it to the cameras, and hid behind the far side of the building. The night air was cold, heavy with the scent of diesel. Minutes turned to hours. Then, there she was. The woman moved quickly, quietly, like she'd done this 100 times before. She crouched by the pump, hands trembling slightly as she filled her canister. Marcus's pulse quickened. Now, he sprang from his hiding spot. "Stop right there!" he shouted. The woman froze just for a second, then bolted. Her boots slapped against the pavement as she sprinted toward the back of the lot. Marcus chased after her, adrenaline kicking in. The jerry can sloshed with fuel, slowing her down, but not enough. She turned a corner, vanishing into the dark maze of alleys behind the station. Marcus followed the echo of her footsteps until the world opened into an empty parking lot, moonlight cutting through the fog. She ran toward an abandoned warehouse. He lunged forward and caught her wrist just as she crossed the doorway. "Got you," he said between heavy breaths. The woman didn't fight. She just stood there, trembling, her wide eyes glistening under the dim light. Then, to Marcus's surprise, she whispered softly, "Please, you don't understand." He frowned. "What don't I understand? You've been stealing gas for days." Her lip quivered. "If I tell you, you have to see it for yourself." She turned and motioned him deeper into the building. Against his better judgment, Marcus followed, flashlight in one hand, suspicion in the other. The air inside was damp and cold, the walls lined with graffiti and shadows. Then he heard faint murmurs coming from deeper inside. He raised his light and what he saw made him stop in his track. Marcus froze mid-step. At the far end of the room, dozens of faint silhouettes stirred in the darkness. Men, women, even children. Some were wrapped in blankets, others huddled around makeshift stoves made from old cans. The air smelled of smoke, oil, and damp cement. His flashlight trembled slightly in his hand. Who are these people?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The young woman turned to him. "They're my family," she said quietly. "Not by blood, but by survival." As she spoke, a little girl emerged from the shadows. Her hair was tangled, her shoes torn. She smiled shyly and ran toward the woman, clutching her leg. The woman knelt, brushed the child's cheek, and handed her the jerry can. "Lucy, take this to your father," she said softly. Marcus instinctively stepped forward. "Wait, stop! You can't just—" Before he could finish, the child disappeared into the back of the room. Moments later, a low hum echoed through the space, then a warm orange light flickered on. A portable generator came alive, illuminating the faces Marcus hadn't been able to see before. There were over 30 of them, exhausted, dirty, but alive. The woman, now clearly shaken, turned to Marcus again. "That gas you saw me steal, it powers this. It keeps the generator running so these people can stay warm. The city shut down the shelters last winter. They had nowhere to go." Marcus stared in silence. The anger that had driven him here melted away, replaced by a cold knot of guilt. She continued, her voice cracking. "I tried everything, petitions, calls, even started a charity, but no one cared. Donations dried up, they only notice us when it's convenient. So I had to find another way." She gestured toward the flickering lights. "It's not much, but at least the kids can sleep without freezing." Marcus exhaled slowly. He felt the weight of his badge pressing against his chest, the symbol of order, of rules, and yet, standing here, it felt meaningless. He looked around at the tired eyes watching him, at the fragile life flickering in this forgotten corner of the city. The woman wiped her tears and whispered, "I know what I'm doing is wrong, but tell me, what choice do I have?" For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the gentle hum of the generator, steady and fragile, like the heartbeat of everyone in that room. Finally, Marcus said quietly, "You shouldn't have to choose between breaking the law and keeping people alive. He walked over to the generator, staring at the dented metal casing. How much fuel do you need for a day? The woman blinked, unsure how to answer. A few gallons, enough to last through the night. Marcus nodded slowly. Then you won't need to steal anymore. Her brows furrowed. What do you mean? He turned toward her with a faint, determined smile. Tomorrow, I'll fill the cans myself. Every day if I have to. But you're going to help me do it right. We'll set up a drive. The station has regulars. People with kind hearts. They'll help if we ask. Tears welled up in her eyes again, not from fear, this time, but disbelief. You'd really do that, after chasing me? Marcus shrugged. Maybe I was chasing the wrong thing. Weeks later, word spread about the Warm Nights project. Customers came not just for fuel, but to donate money, food, and supplies. The same station that once watched theft through its cameras now became a beacon of compassion. And every night, when Marcus looked at the monitors, he no longer waited for a thief to appear. He waited for the lights in that forgotten building to flicker on a small, steady glow that proved kindness still existed.